Good evening, everybody. Here we are again for another one of our seminars. Today's seminar is how to house hack successfully. It's a really interesting topic. A lot of young people are trying it these days, but we've got a spin on it at the end that you don't have to necessarily be buying your first property to do it. And once we get there, we'll explain how.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's really important, this seminar, because Tim and I bought a lot of properties this way, and you too can do this as well. So it's awesome. For the early birds on here, we started this last month where we do the investment tip of the month. So this is for the early guys out there. Our tip of the month.
Yeah, we just started this because while we wait for everybody to come in the waiting room, we'd like to give you some information. So the tip of the month this month is how to get a good deal.
Yeah, how to get a good deal when buying real estate. So what happens when a property comes on the market? We need to stress this because people always want to go in and get a good deal. But when a property comes on the market, their realtor has given them the list price or a suggested list price, or sometimes the owners suggest the list price themselves. Either way, the owner has an idea in their mind. So
yeah, it could be right out to left field. Like the realtor may have quoted a price that's way too high, but the owner thinks that that's what his house is worth.
Yeah, so it's almost impossible to go in on the first day when you go see a property, when you rush out there. And we get these calls. I mean, I was just responding to a text you sent him. You get these texts all the time. What about this property just hit the market? It's fine, but if we've got clients that want to get a good deal, it's very unlikely that if you rush out to see that property and put an offer in, you're going to get a good deal. You're normally going to pay list price or very close to list price, or if it goes into multiple offers, you're going to pay more. So how do you get a good deal, and how do we find a good deal? So what we're always looking for are properties that have been on the market for a long time. And what happens is the property becomes stale. Stale, it is a perfect time to go in and lowball or put an offer in where it actually should have been in the first place. And we've seen this time again. So we're always looking for properties that have been overpriced and they've sat there for 30, 60, sometimes more. Tim, we've seen properties the other day. We took one in Thorncliffe this week for the boys. It was on the market for 150 days.
Yeah, and usually after that time, a lot of the buyers that are looking for that particular house or that type of property, they've already dropped that one off their radar. So they thought that it was too high priced to begin with, and then they stopped looking at it. So that's when a good time for us to get in there and, you know, like as I said, put in a low offer, put in a decent offer for our buyers.
Yeah, so we're always looking to see how long the property's been on the market. Us realtors can actually see if it's been relisted. The public can't see that. So the realtors have a little trick where they'll relist the property and then the number of days will come back to zero. So the public out there don't actually know what or how many days or how long they've actually been selling it for until they contact their realtor. And a realtor should always check the history to see, okay, what's going on with this property? And for example, the property we just picked up, we asked the realtor exactly, like, is there anything structural with the property? Is there any damage inside? Tim and I went to look at the property. It turned out that it was a real beauty and our clients bought it straight away. We've also done the home inspection right now and it passed with flying colors. Not only that, because the seller has had it for 150 days on the market, they're willing to fix everything in the home inspection because they just want to get rid of it and have a firm sale. So how else do you get deals out there, Tim?
Well, the second way that we come across all the time is distressed properties. This is a very common way where people will come in and they'll offer whatever they think they should. And because the property is distressed, the owner knows it has issues, whether it's water damage or it's just an older property with no renovations, never had anything done to it. It's easier for us to get a deal on it than a property that is perfect. So distressed properties is the second way to get a good deal on properties. And the third way, off-market properties. Maybe you can expand on that.
Yeah, so off-market properties is where you come to an agreement with the seller. And Tim and I, we sold many off-market properties. Actually, most of our properties are sold off-market and they're sold to our members. They get the first dibs. We did one in Haysboro for Jeff and Susan, and they're flipping a home. And basically, we came across an investor. I mean, we've been doing this for for 16 years. So we have a lot of clients with investment properties out there. And this property came to us, this clients came to us with this property, and we came to an agreement. If we said we can get that for you, they were happy not to put it on MLS. And sure enough, we shopped it around to the next person that wanted to flip a home. And why would the sellers do this? I can tell you, the sellers have disgruntled, or actually they have terrible tenants in there. And it's just unfortunately what happened there during COVID, and they just want to get rid of the property. So we fixed the problem very quickly for them. And our clients on the other end, they're taking on a property, but they're doing a flip and they don't mind cleaning it up, and they'll make a lot of money off it, but they don't mind buying this property off market, so they don't have to compete and overpay. And it's win-win for everyone.
Yeah, another way to get a good deal on a property is foreclosures. Now, as we've mentioned in a lot of our seminars and to a lot of our investors, Alberta traditionally doesn't have a lot of foreclosure properties at one time. This came about as a result of the stronger or the more stringent lending policies that the Canadian government brought in, where it's harder to qualify for a mortgage. So the people that do get them tend to be able to make their payments. But foreclosures do come up, and when they hit our radar, we generally know whether they've been priced right or priced wrong. And we also know that the banks are going to regularly schedule a price decrease if they've been overpriced. So we sort of watch those decreases as they're going on. And then when it starts to become a good deal, that's when we jump on it.
Yeah, and the final way to get a good deal when buying a property is finding distressed sellers. And how do people do that? You may have seen the signs out there, we buy houses. The only thing we ask people to be cautious about is that you be genuine and you actually try to help people out. We've seen some investors, Tim, that go and take advantage of people. And that's one reason why we do what we do, is just trying to teach people how to be fair and make it win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and preying on a seller who's down on their luck, that's something that we never advise. But if you can help that seller out, if they're really in a bind, they've lost their job or they've had, a medical issue and they just really can't make up their payments, well, you can provide a solution by taking that property off their hands. So that's the last way we're going to describe today. So that's our tip of the month, how to get a good deal. And I guess we'll get right in. I'm looking at the waiting room now. There's not many people in there anymore. So we'll be able to just dive right into our seminar here. Let me just pull the screen up and we can get started.
Okay. So welcome everybody. My name's Azad Chandler.
And I'm Tim Desautels.
And for those who don't know us, Tim and I have been doing these seminars for over 10 years now, but on Meetup over 5-6 years. We have 4,500 members. We're trying to get to 5,000 as soon as we can. So if you do like us tonight, please tell your friends and family to join in. It is free. We're not here to sell anything. We do showcase. We've written 2 books. One of them is called Fearless Real Estate. This is all about taking the fear out of investing in real estate and moving forward, taking action. And we're a little different from other investment groups where we actually showcase what our clients are doing. It's not about us. Yes, Tim and I have made lots of money in real estate, but guess what? We've lost lots of money in real estate, and we're not afraid to tell you how much or how we lost it and where we went wrong. And if you've read any of our books, you'll totally get that. We're truly passionate about investing in real estate. It has changed our lives. And I hope you like what you see tonight.
Yeah, so we've also just want to mention the Calgary Real Estate Investment Forum. Most of you are familiar with it about Meetup, or you're a member. We like to provide really realistic real estate investment information. We've taken a lot of courses, a lot of American-based courses. We've got a lot of books on our shelves. We've got a lot of CDs on our shelves.
And not only that, Tim, we've got a lot of clients that have done courses out there, spent thousands of dollars. And a lot of them went, even though they spent $20,000 on a course, they didn't get any further ahead, Tim. Yeah. And it took us to find them the properties and move them forward. That's when we realized, geez, we got to start our own gig.
Yeah, and we provide a lot of on-the-ground help. We'll go into properties, we'll explain the attributes that those properties need to have to make it a successful rental property. Yeah. We're constantly educating as we're showing the properties. We're not just walking into a property saying, hey, you got to buy this because it's a good rental. We show them why it's going to be a good rental.
Actually, yesterday I was with 2 of our clients, investors yesterday, and I showed them a place in North Glenmore. It's on the MLS right now. You can go on there and see it's a half duplex for $399. It came on the market, and I invited both investors. They don't know each other, but I invited them both at the same time, just to educate them. And I told them when I walked up, there is no way in the world either of you are buying this property. And I went in there just to show them why. And I could tell you a few reasons. One, they had the what do you call the incense or the plug-in on the wall, Tim, when they the scent. I can't stand it because
air freshener.
The air freshener. So whenever, and I got to tell you guys, whenever you see air freshener, you smell the air freshener. This thing was so strong that I couldn't even breathe. And anyway, this property, when you see an air freshener in a property, there's one or two things going wrong with it. One could be it could have been smoked in, and the second one, 9 times out of 10, is that a cat has been peeing in the basement and it just reeks. And I would guarantee that this property had both. Anyway, the windows were shot on this property, the roof was shot, the garage was a shared garage in the back, which really can't put any value. You're right, Tim, because you looked at it.
It was shared with the other side of the duplex, which was separately titled. So the owner of the one, if you're going to buy this one that as I went to see, the garage that you can offer the tenants doesn't have a dividing wall in it. It's shared with the other side.
Yeah, so you can't put any value on that, and this property needed major renovations just to get it rented. And at the end of the day, it was priced high for what it is. And I went in there simply to educate the clients so they know. So next time when we do see a good one, they can jump on it straight away. And that's something that we do.
Yeah. So because we have such a lot of information to go through, we'll get right into our market update. What I want to do is, first of all, showcase this article that I came across in the Calgary Herald the other day. Calgary ranks among the top 50 of the top 100 best cities to live in, according to a recent economic report. What that's telling us is that even though we came through COVID, even though we went through the oil glut, people are still finding Calgary attractive to move to. As Canada moves out of this pandemic and the world moves out of the pandemic, we're going to see more and more migration into Canada. And Canada's migration system is set up so that mostly the best and the brightest come here. Anybody who is an immigrant to Canada, it's a lengthy process to get in here. I mean, we let him in, so you know that you don't just come in overnight. Yes, we do let refugees in and stuff like that, but the majority of our immigrants, they're well educated, they're hardworking, and they just want to make a better life for themselves and their families. And once they do come to Canada, they're going to move away from the crowded big cities like Toronto and Vancouver, and they'll find all of Calgary's attributes that it makes for a great lifestyle city.
Yeah, so if you've been following us, we recommend whenever you see good articles like this, you put it aside. So when you're talking to joint venture partners, you have all these articles about Calgary, what it's doing, where it's going, and that will help you raise capital and grow your portfolio. So we love seeing this stuff.
Yeah, and the bottom line there, Calgary came in 31st in prosperity because of a high GDP. Again, we're very resource-based here. The oil and gas industry is big, yes, and I'm not going to make any apologies for that because it is raising our standard of living here in Alberta. So, when you see things like that, stats like that, you just know that Calgary is going to attract more and more people, and you're going to need more and more rental properties. So that's why we're in the game.
Yeah, and that's for sure. That's 100% for sure. That's why we know real estate prices are going to continue to rise. You look at Vancouver, you look at Toronto, we say it all the time. Now Montreal, Ottawa, Hamilton, those other areas are exceeding where they should be. Like the prices are just ridiculous. And new people coming to this country, I could tell you, they want to live life, and Calgary definitely offers that. There's jobs here, there's affordable housing here, and we're very excited. We believe we're in for good times for the next 5 years here in Calgary with the way oil's going, where it's trending, and the population that's expecting to come here as well.
Yeah, and I printed off the stats today. I'll just go over a couple of numbers here that I pretty much go over every time. But we're almost through the first 3 quarters of this year. We've got the last quarter to come. So total sales year to date in Calgary, so 2021 over 2020, we're up 85%. So that's all, we've almost doubled the sales volume in 1 year. And but the second number that I'm going to talk about is the average price. So year over year, we're up 8.5%. So what that tells us is that meanwhile, while the volume is chugging along, our average price is not going through the roof the way it is in some of the cities like Vancouver and Toronto. So Calgary still remains an affordable place to live. And it's also because of that, it's an affordable place to buy rental property.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's not as crazy as people think it is. Like I was at the gym this morning, first time I've been there in a long time. And the guys in the gym that I talk to all the time, they were, when's it going to cool down? I'm like, it's really not that crazy. I mean, number of sales were crazy earlier in the year, but it's coming back, right? Tim, you're saying just
Yeah.
before. I mean, it's way up from last year, but we had a year where we didn't have many sales.
Yeah, and since about April, the month-over-month sales are, well, they're still increasing. The number of, or the percentage increase is going lower and lower and lower. For example, August 2020 to August 2021, the average price went up 3.79%. So that's not very high. September 2020 to September 2021, the increase was only 1.42%. So year over year, you're seeing that price difference come down, 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 down. And we figure the year is going to settle out at about 7.5% to 8% price increase. And that's not a crazy number. We've seen that, we've seen it way higher than that back in 2006, 2007, and even in 2014. So we're seeing increases, yes, but most of it is on the volume side.
Yeah. So I think it's time to get into our presentation tonight.
Yeah, so what is house hacking? Some of you may be familiar with this term, most of you are actually, but some of you may not. Basically what it is, it's when you live in a property and also get some sort of income from it. We're going to go through all the different kinds of house hacking, that our clients are going through. And we're going to even provide case studies, so actual properties that were bought this year with the actual numbers that they're getting.
Yeah, which is awesome. We're going to go through 3 different properties so everyone can see out there. Now, we have to be honest with you. We might be getting a little bit older here. When we first heard the term house hacking, we didn't know what people were talking about. Okay, we'll be honest, we didn't know, but we'll give a hats off or a shout out to Brendan Turner that apparently came up with this term house hacking. We'll give him full credit, but we've been doing house hacking since we started. I mean, Tim, when I first moved here from Australia, that's the only way I could buy real estate is by myself house hacking or getting people to house hack. So we're going to get into that in full depth. But Tim and I were like, what are these young kids talking about house hacking all the time? And then we just realized, oh, okay, you're getting someone to live in the basement, or you're getting someone to live upstairs. And then we found out that we've been doing it the whole time. So we've been house hackers. And I guess that term is growing on us, Tim.
Yeah, and what house hacking leads to is you don't have to live in the property forever. You live in it for a certain period of time, and then you can move on to your next real estate project, move into the next one. So you can house hack until you have enough properties in your portfolio that you've either had enough or you want to move on to your dream home.
Yeah, so we started a move up program, Tim, probably about 8 years ago for our younger clients. Not necessarily young clients, but also immigrants to this city. We've had immigrants come here and wanting, being qualified for up to $800,000. And we're like, if the goal is to own $2 million worth of real estate and you go out and buy that $800,000 home, you might get stuck and it might be hard for you to qualify for your next property. But if you go buy a $300,000 house and then go buy a $450,000 house and have someone live in the basement and you live upstairs and then go do that again, you'll get there way, way quicker. So house hacking has some huge advantages, of which we'll go through tonight. Yeah,
and the gentleman in this slide, he bought a half duplex in Glamorgan, and he's house hacking. He's living in the upstairs, he's got a tenant in the basement. So we've got lots and lots of clients doing this, and we'll just go through the different types of house hacking that are out there.
Yeah, we're actually taking possession for another house hacker tomorrow, Lewis.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So when you want to house hack, the first thing you want to do is decide which strategy you're going to use while you're house hacking. One of the simplest ways to, get extra income while you're living in your house is just to rent out a space, right? You can rent out a space in your garage. If there's someone in the neighborhood with classic cars, they don't have enough garage space, you can rent out one side of your garage to them for $100 a month. You can rent your driveway, your RV pad, rent out a shed. We see a lot of people who live in the inner city and they're on a street where there's paid parking. They can rent out their driveway to someone who works in an office downtown. So that person will pay a monthly rate and they'll be able to park in the person's driveway. And then when they go home from work, person come home from wherever they work, and they park in the driveway. So
Yeah.
it's a great way to earn some income.
Yeah, we took possession last month in Acadia, and that was just a driveway that was getting rented in Acadia, and I believe for $85 a month. So that's just a driveway. A typical garage, Tim, how much would that rent for in today's market?
Well, the closer you are to the downtown core, we see people getting $300 a month for a 2-car garage. The further out from the downtown core that you get, the price goes down. It's $250 if you're 20 minutes out, and then it's $200 if you're 30 minutes out, and then it goes down from there.
Yeah, the best that I've seen, Judy and Jeff had a property in Ross Carrick, and they had it legally suited. So they rented the upstairs, they rented the downstairs, and then they had this huge double car garage that a cabinet maker
That's right.
built a shop in the garage. It was heated. He had room to spray the cabinets in a specialized room in the garage, and he was renting it for $550 a month to build his cabinets in there, and then take them to wherever he had to put them in. But if you look at it for that guy, $550 for commercial space is very, very cheap if you had to go get a warehouse or something like that. So is it possible? I mean, that's the extreme we've seen, $550. But on average, Tim, $250 to $300 for a garage.
Yeah, and we have all kinds of people now, not necessarily in the houses they're living in, but with their rental properties. If they have an up-down duplex, or sorry, an up-down bungalow, and they want to bump their rent up a little bit more, they can rent a garage out separately. So renting a garage is always one way to increase your cash flow, whether you're house hacking or whether you just have a straight up rental property.
Yeah, I know David's got a yoga studio. Some guys doing a yoga studio in Winston Heights in a garage. If you guys are driving by and you see all these people doing yoga in a garage, that's one of our clients, and he's charging an arm and a leg for that. So it can work.
Yeah. So moving on to ways that will get you a little bit more cash flow than renting out a garage or a driveway. House hacking a single family home. Now, this is what the majority of our clients are doing, what the majority of house hackers are out there doing. It's either a single family or a half duplex, but it's one unit. And what they do is, for instance, sometimes you don't need to have a suite in the basement. You can just rent out rooms. We've had many, many clients where they have a big house or they're close to a school like a university or college. And what they do is they put locks on the bedrooms and they rent out rooms to students or just to people who want that really inexpensive rent.
Yeah, I mean, if you read our book, Fearless Real Estate, there's a line in here that's the best line that every investor should write down. And it is, if you're not cash flowing, you're not trying. And for example, a roommate these days, if you're renting a room, a student, the going rate for a room these days, if you're near a university, is roughly $700. Even if you're not near a university, I've seen $700 in Beddington, in Huntington Hills. And it got us thinking that, a typical basement suite would rent for, in Huntington Hills, about $1,000 on average. But if you get 2 roommates and you're living upstairs, you could pull off $1,400 downstairs. So it is possible. And we always kind of tell the story about the young girl that was a gym instructor, actually, Brittany. When she started investing in real estate, this is a gym instructor that was earning probably $24,000 a year, Tim, not even that much. And she wanted to become an investor. And we're like, okay. Anyway, she moved into Mayland Heights. She lived upstairs. She got a roommate upstairs paying $500. She rented out the garage to a guy that was a construction worker as well and storing material in the garage for $300. So it's $800, and then rented out the basement for $1,000. So
that's the ultimate house hacking.
That's the ultimate house hacking. Guess what she did? She went on to buy her second property just by doing that. So she was a gym instructor earning under $20,000, around $20,000 a year, and now has got $500,000 in equity, close to it probably, or on her way to having it anyway. So can it be done? For sure.
Another way to do it is Airbnb. Okay, so what happens here is we've actually had clients that move out of their house for a weekend and they'll Airbnb the whole house. So you're not getting, $1,200 a month for a basement suite, but you can charge $300-400 a night for an Airbnb if it's a nice house. And so the people come into town, whatever they're doing, vacationing or business, and they have access to the whole house. They don't have to, all the dishes are there, so they can make their own meals. And the nightly rate, depending on how nice the house looks, you can do that 2 or 3 weekends a month and make more than you would if you're renting the whole house out.
Yeah, we have a client, Barb, who has 3 Airbnbs. She does this full time. And if one is booked up, she'll just go to the next one and sleep there the night. And if the other one's booked up or all 3 are booked up, she'll go stay at her daughter's house. And she does this full time. And that's how she's retired. That's how she makes her money. So is it possible? You just have to have the right properties in the right location.
Yeah, so the most common way is to put a basement suite in your house. Now, a lot of people who want a mortgage helper will buy a house with a basement suite, or they'll build their own basement suite down there so that they can have that steady, you know, $900 to $1,200 a month from the tenant down there. And that's helping them pay their mortgage month after month after month. So they can go from, you know, their living expenses can be $2,500 a month down to $1,500 a month. And they'll do that until they can get ahead and get their next property. So the house hacking with a basement suite is very, very common. We've actually got a lot of clients doing it. We're going to go through a couple of examples in a minute here, but I would say 50% of our clients that are younger are doing this because it's a great mortgage helper.
Yeah, and by working with Tim and myself, we always strive to make that basement legal. Tim, we're in a basement suite with Kevin and Melissa today in Acadia, and it just needed so many things to make that property legal. So we had to walk away from that property. But we always want to make the suite legal just because of a couple of reasons. Once it's legal, the bank will take into fact both sets of rent. If it's an illegal suite, and it's the word is out there that there's roughly 35,000 suites in Calgary, and we know the city has just hit, I think, 5,100 legal suites. So there's roughly 30,000 illegal suites out there. And if the suite is illegal, the banks will only factor in the rent from the upstairs unit and won't take into consideration downstairs. And why is that a big deal? It's a big deal because then it will impact your qualifying for the next property. Once it's legal, and we take our clients through the whole process on making it legal, how to do it, what renovations are needed. We set up the budget, we make sure we show them how to get the money so they don't have to pay to make it legal. And it's win-win. And the reason why we do that for our clients is because then they buy more real estate and they can sleep at night and not have to worry if the suite is safe or not, which is the most important thing as well.
Yeah, and another way to house hack is to convert the garage into a self-contained suite. Now, we don't see that so much in Calgary because of our climate. It gets so cold in the wintertime, you really have to winterize that garage, but it is used a lot in the lower mainland of BC and on Vancouver Island. If you're driving down some of those older areas, you go down the back lanes and you will see house or garage after garage after garage after garage that's converted into a livable suite. First-hand knowledge, I know this because when my wife's sister moved out there many years ago, her and her husband bought a house with a lane suite just so they could have a mortgage helper. And this was probably 15, 20 years ago that's happened. And over time, as the property prices have gone through the roof in Vancouver and Victoria, many people are converting their garages into lane suites. But as I said before, in areas where it gets a lot colder in the wintertime, you're not going to see a whole lot of them. We do have one client with one in Airdrie, Dave.
He's got
McKinsey's that's a suite on top of the garage, but when you convert the whole garage into a living suite. Yeah, Dave has one in Airdrie, and he's had quite a bit of success with it over the years. So it can be done.
Yeah, I want to stress though, because we do have people come to us all the time, Tim. Is it feasible to build a carriage suite?
Yeah.
And it's going to cost you roughly, I don't know, with wood at the prices it is today, but roughly 150K, and that might get you a triple car garage with 1,000 square feet, Tim, upstairs, maybe 1 bedroom, bathroom, of course, kitchen, open living dining area. But we have to stress the maximum rent you're going to get from that is $1,000. So sometimes you're better off not borrowing that money to do it. You're better off just going to get another property, which is going to go up even more. So we want to stress that as well, but it is possible.
Yeah, and the houses with existing suites over the garages, there are neighborhoods that are zoned for that. There's inner city neighborhoods, Garrison Green, they're starting to do it. But those are high-end homes, and people traditionally use that suite either for in-laws or for a nanny. when the cost of the house is over $1 million, you're not going to use that as a rental property.
Yeah.
You can do it in places like Mackenzie Town, where most of the places in Mackenzie Town are zoned for, suites on top of the garages. It's better off if you pick one up where it's existing, other than to have it built. And we've also had a lot of people ask a question, say there's a nice garage in the backyard, and they ask, can I build a suite over this garage? 99% of the time you have to tear the whole garage down and start over again. So you're in the same place as if you're building from scratch.
Yeah.
So we want to move on now to our first case study. We've talked about Connor before. He bought a 1,000 square foot bungalow in Ogden. This was last year. And we went through the numbers with him when he first moved in there. Right now, he is living in the basement, and he's got tenants in the upstairs. So let me just move this little thing in the way here.
Yeah, so we took a run at this. It was winter, right, Tim? It was like November or December. I remember it was cold. I was standing outside. The roof was kind of shot on it, but when you're getting a deal, I think this was listed for $350. Tim went in, got it for $325. Great deal in Ogden. We love Ogden. There is a video on this on our Crew TV. Just go to calgaryrealestatewealth.com. You'll see our Crew TV, and you can see Connor standing outside. It's actually got about 3,000 views right now. Yeah, check it out because it's worth a look. And here's a young guy that saved up a deposit, and he did put 20% down, just over 60K. So hats off to Connor for doing that. But the best thing is he's living there, and he went in and put some sweat equity into it, right, Tim? Did he do the roof this summer? I don't know if he did.
He hasn't done the roof yet, but he did the floors, he painted the walls, he did new baseboards. So it was mostly cosmetic work.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do anything structurally. He didn't have to put a new furnace in or anything like that, but he updated the home so that it's attractive to tenants. And you can see his main floor rent that he's getting is $1,400 a month. And that's not bad. It's a 3-bedroom unit upstairs with a nice kitchen and living area. And when you look at his costs, mortgage, taxes, and insurance are less than $1,400. Yes, there's maintenance and there's vacancies that are going to come up down the road. But as it stands right now, he's covering all of his costs.
Yeah, he's covered all his costs. So he's already on track after 1 year of living his property. Has it been a year?
Just a year.
Just a year. No, it hasn't.
No,
it hasn't even been a year. He's already on track to go buy another property. So I think he probably likes where he's living right now. I don't know if he wants to move.
He told me he was in with Danielle, talking about qualification. And if you are unsure where you are financially right now, and can you afford another one, talk to Danielle DeMarco, our mortgage specialist. We can email you her contact details. And she's determined that he can go and buy another one.
Yeah, and even though Connor's living in this property, which is always good for a couple of reasons. One, the neighbors like that the owner's living there. And two, the tenants are going to be well behaved because the owner, in this case, is living downstairs. Yeah. I remember when we bought this property, we inherited a tenant for a couple of months there, I think it was. Yeah. And he was smoking in the basement, we could tell. And we told Connor straight away, you could see he's holding up his landlord kit there, that tenant had to go. And Connor was happy with that because he got to renovate the upstairs, he did the flooring, did the painting, and then got the tenant out downstairs, and then he moved in down there. So it works out really, really well when you are moving into the property like this, and for the young people just to get ahead, simply get ahead, right?
Yeah. And if you could live for free in a place that your tenants are paying down the mortgage, they're building your equity, that's the dream of most real estate investors.
Yeah, so one thing quickly about Connor, he went on to legalize the basement suite. Tim, do you know roughly what the costs were? I think Connor's on the call, but I don't think the costs were too much to make it legal like that.
No, he needed to put in a sprinkler system. He needed to interconnect the smoke detectors, and there was some drywall work that he had to do. But other than that, I think all told, the cost was under $6,000 or $7,000.
So he bought for $325. We could definitely tell you in Ogden today, we could sell that property to an investor probably for $360, $365. So here's the story. Here it is, Connor. Here it's $5,000. You just put in the chat, maybe less to make it legal. So now he's got a legal property. The banks are going to calculate the rents that he would get downstairs. Tim, that was an awesome basement suite.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms, so it'd probably rent for $1,000 bucks. So he's getting $2,400 he's already going to be cash flowing $1,000 a month now,
Yeah.
right? So what the bank does is take that $1,000, adds it to his income, which now helps him qualify for even more if he wants to. But because he started so low, and this is the key when you're house hacking, he started at 325. Okay, so if I was Connor, I would be going for a 350, 360 home. I mean, that's up to him. He might want to go somewhere nicer, but then that allows him to use the move up program and put 5% down each time. And if you could save by putting 5% down, you know, on the first one he didn't, but he can now put 5% down on the next one if he wants to.
Yeah, and over time, as his income goes up and the property value goes up, he can turn this into the BRRRR strategy. He can refinance and pull some of that deposit out. Because if the property goes up to 400,000, you know, you're allowed to finance up to 80% of that. Yeah. So he can pull some money out to help with his next purchase.
Like his mortgage is like 280 right now, maybe less. Actually, it's less. It's 270. And you got to remember, everybody out there right now, that Connor right now, he's living there for free. But he's also, the mortgage is also getting paid down roughly $800 a month. So he's living for free. And on top of that, he's making $800 a month in mortgage pay down. And he bought for $325 and the property's worth $365 today. That's the kind of stuff you want to get into.
Yeah. So our next case study, this is another young couple, Cole and Tasha. They bought a half duplex in Canyon Meadows, same situation. They moved into the basement and they rented out the upstairs. So they're getting $1,600 a month because there's a single garage attached, or a single garage out back as well. So their upstairs rent is a little bit higher than Connor's. But if you look at their numbers, they did only put 5% down. So their mortgage payment is a little higher. They're at $1,535, taxes and insurance added in there, and their costs are $1,757 a month. Yes, there's going to be other little expenses that come up, but these are just high level numbers that we're just going to go over them really quickly. So you can look at these two, they're living for under $200 a month.
Yeah, so Cole, he's a construction manager, right? Yeah. So Cole's a construction manager, Tasha's a new teacher. So they're both earning good incomes and they're living for $200 a month. And when they joined our program, their goal was to buy many properties. Yeah. And by doing it the right way, and once again, there's another video on our Crew TV that you guys should watch to see how they went about it. They rented out their property. It's very, very easy. This property did come with a single car garage,
single garage.
Walking distance to the C train station and walking distance to South Center Mall. So it all fits. Really nothing to do. They are updating the basement suite, so when they move out, it'll be more appealing. They're putting in vinyl plank flooring, which Connor put in the same thing too. Yeah. We really recommend that for our investors to put in because it lasts forever and it's easy to clean and it looks great. It looks really contemporary.
Yeah, a word about that is when you are doing a basement suite like that, we see a lot of people put carpet all throughout. We caution against that these days because the price of vinyl plank or even laminate flooring and the quality of those products is going up, the price is coming down. So you can outfit this whole basement, you know, with a single type of flooring that's durable. It can basically you take a beating and it looks good. Some of this stuff looks just like the high-end hardwoods on the market. So it looks good, tenants are going to pay for that.
Yeah, and I've talked to my contractor about this because I always thought it'd be freezing cold in the basement, but apparently it has some sort of warmth factor to it.
There is a little bit of underlay on
it. It's not as cold apparently. I didn't know that, but it does really look good, and tenants won't mind wearing slippers if they have to. I'll tell you that much. But there's numbers for another couple that are just getting ahead. And for example, Cole was renting a room. Tasha was at her mum and dad's before this. And Cole, I think he was renting a room, I can't remember, I think it was like $600-700 a month. But once again, now they're living together for $200 a month and the mortgage is getting paid down roughly $800 a month. So Cole's now in front. He's saving $600 by not renting a room or renting a basement where he was. And they're actually paying down the mortgage. So yeah, win-win all day there.
Yeah, so that's what a lot of young people are doing. The next house hack strategy is house hacking a duplex, or we've seen people house hack triplexes or fourplexes. If you can pick up these units where you can still get an insured mortgage if you live in one of the unions. Now, we don't have Danielle to explain that, but the CMHC will still insure a property up to 5 units, I believe. There's not a whole lot of 5-plexes in Calgary, but there's a lot of duplexes, triplexes, and 4-plexes. So what our investors do is they'll buy the 4-plex, they'll move into 1 unit, and they'll rent out the other 3. Now, those other 3 units will more than cover the cost of the mortgage and the expenses. So it's another way to house hack, but it's a little bit more expensive to get into because you're buying more than 1 unit.
Yeah, and if you do go in and legalize each suite and make it now a legal 4-plex, you could buy these 4-plexes, Tim, illegal 4-plexes around 750, 800, 850, and then closer to downtown and closer to $1 million.
Yeah.
But the value, once you make them legal, a legal 4-plex, goes up by $100,000, $200,000. So it is a great way. These small, we like to call them small multifamilies.
Yep.
It's a great way to get ahead and actually make both, hit 2 home runs, because everyone wants this, right? Like, you want to get cash flow and you want to get the appreciation. That's definitely one way to do it, is buying these small multifamily properties.
Yeah, and what Cole intends to do in his is he's bought 1/2 of the duplex. So he's got a suite of property on 1/2. What we're trying to do is down the road, when the other side goes to sell, we want him to pick that side up and turn that into a suite of duplex as well. And if he legalizes both of those, it goes through the scenario just as I just told you.
Yeah.
And bang, he's got a 4-plex.
Yeah. So if you're ever buying a half duplex, and we take our clients into these all the time, we've got no problem buying half duplexes. Some of our clients have to, because that's the only thing they can afford. I owned a bunch of them when I started off, Tim. I'm not sure you owned a 4-plex.
4-plex, but not duplex.
Not duplexes. I at one stage, that's all I could get, and you know what? At the end of the day, I ended up owning the other side, so it turned into a 4-plex, and that should be the goal. So whenever you do own a half duplex, you always knock on the neighbor and say, "Hey, you know what? I know Mark Chalk's listening. He's got a good property in Inglewood." You'll always go and knock on the door and say, "Hey, if you're ever thinking of selling, let me know, because if it does come up, you need to jump on it." And that way, you stand to make a lot of money. Not only do you have the increase will go up when you make it a legal 4-plex, but now you own the whole lot, and you can actually knock it down and build a new 4-plex or a new duplex or 2 infills on that property. And that is key, especially if you're in the city. And that's when you stand to make the real big bucks.
Yeah. So moving on to the next strategy in our house hacking, the live-in flip. Now, as I'd explained at the beginning, we didn't really know what house hacking was. And then when people are explaining that, no, the live-in flip is actually a house hack as well, because you're living in it and then you're going to get some income from it at the end. The best thing about the live-in flip is when you go to sell, there's no capital gains, because it is your primary residence. So you're fixing it up all along. It takes you 6 months, a year, whatever it takes. And then you sell it, you move out, and whatever the profit is when you sell, that's tax-free gains because it's your principal residence.
Yeah, so we need to stress this, because when it comes to flipping, we just did a whole video with our most recent flip investors in Lake Buena Vista, and it takes work. Like we actually spent, I think, an hour filming a whole video with them for our investors to see that, you know what, you have to really want it. Like as they said in the video, like a lot of things came up, they had to deal with it. And I said to the couple that were doing it, lucky, you know, you guys are still together, you didn't get divorced or anything like that. And the funny thing is, on the next flip, Tim, Melissa and Cameron were actually saying they might get a ping pong table in the basement, so then they could have a time out and somewhere to go chill during the flip, because it would get, you know, intense sometimes. But the reason why I'm telling you all of this is it's not like the TV shows out there. Flipping doesn't take 30 minutes like on TV. You need a strategy. We take the stress away from our clients because we make sure that the ARV value is going to be there. We discuss with our clients kind of how much renovation should be done. Even if you go over, we factor that in to make sure it's going to work. But it takes a lot of planning, and by living in it, if you haven't done it before, we strongly recommend it, because then you can pick one room at a time. You can also take your time because you have to live somewhere. And you were saying this the other day, Tim, like you have to live somewhere. So, you know, if you're renovating a flip property, you could, no, if you're renovating a suited property, you could renovate the basement and then rent that out. So then you've got some income coming in and then renovate upstairs. So there's different things you could do with that. And the best thing, which is at the top here for now, there's no capital gains when you're living.
And another benefit is it comes with timing. So you buy this property, whatever state the market's in, at a certain price, you go through the renovation process. And then if something happens like COVID and the market just dries up, nobody's buying any properties, well, you're living there. So you're not in a rush to sell. So, you know, yes, you have to pay your mortgage and your taxes and insurance. You have to pay that no matter where you live. So, you know, you just ride it out. You just keep living there and then you put it on the market when the market gets better. So we've seen people do this where, you know, that if they renovate a house and they're not living in it and it comes to crunch time after they're finished, they only have a certain amount of time until their profit is eaten up by taxes, carrying costs like your mortgage and, you know, insurance and things like that. So they're in a time crunch. But if you're living in the property, you're not really in a time crunch. You can afford to wait till the market gets better.
Yeah, and that is a really good point.
And there's no pressure to buy material. Earlier this year, where the price of wood went through the roof, if you didn't want to start a project where it was a lot of framing and stuff like that, you could save that project until the price of wood comes down. So that time in the market helps you, you know, get a better profit at the end.
Yeah.
You're never crunched. And to mention that couple that Azad was talking about, this is the house that they've done. Behind the motorcycle there, you can see what it looked like before the renovation, and then what they've done after, the one in the picture in the top. So they did a good job on the inside, and they also did a good job on the outside.
Yeah, awesome job. They you know, and good point, Tim, because time and time again, we go and see properties every day. And Tim, how many times have we gone to see a flip property that they get to like 90% of the work and then they just kind of stop? They either run out of money. We don't know, but if you're taking on a project, make sure you finish it. We can definitely tell you, Kevin and Melissa here, they did everything.
Yeah,
okay?
they right down to the last detail, even staging the home properly. They did it right from start to finish. So the end product, when they did put it on the market, you know, they had tons of interest in it, and there was no issues coming up like, oh, when we go into the basement bathroom, it's still original. You know, they ran out of money, they couldn't do the basement bathroom. We don't see issues like that with our renovators that are doing it from start to finish.
Yeah, no, good for them. So no, that's really cool. So if you are thinking of flipping, please move into it. You'll save on your taxes at the end of the day. For now, you'll save on, or you'll buy yourself time, as Tim is saying, and especially timing the market when you want to sell, which is perfect.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, if you look at the rental costs there, the second line down, it looks pretty steep, but there are tricks to getting around that cost up front. What they did is they put $30,000 on their mortgage. So they did a purchase plus improvements mortgage, and they put $30,000 worth of work on the mortgage. So yes, they have to come up with 5% of that, but it saves them of the costs up front. You know, that work is worked into their mortgage, so they don't have to come up with that. Another trick that they did is they got a line of credit at Home Depot. So when they went to Home Depot, they were buying a ton of materials. They got a line of credit. Now you have to have a job so that it's sort of like applying for credit anywhere else. But they had 6 months to pay back this line of credit, and they borrowed $20,000. So they bought $20,000 worth of materials from Home Depot that they didn't have to pay for 6 months. So
for
that's
18 months. For 18 months. 18 months,
yeah.
And they sold the property within the 18 months, which I'll pay it back and not pay any interest on. So it was a great tip. We did a whole video with them, and huge success.
Yeah, so that was roughly $50,000 that they didn't have to come up with out of their pocket to fund this renovation. So, you know, they didn't actually have to have $125,000 cash to pay for this. They did it for a lot less, which if you're renovating a home, you look for those little tricks so that you're using someone else's money to help you pay for your renovations. It's no different than using, you know, someone else's money to buy a property, whether it's a joint venture or, you know, agreements for sale or things like that. As long as you can use someone else's money to pay for things that's going to benefit you in the past or in the future, sorry, it's always beneficial to do it that way.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay, so the House Hack Move Up program, as I touched on this a little bit earlier, but the couple in this picture, they've done it 3 times now.
Yeah, so these guys are like all our house hackers. They're our heroes, really. I wish we started off like this too.
Yep.
Like, man, I bought some properties. Tim and I, we put some big deposits down on some of those properties back in the day. And anyway, there was no need for that. And we're going to get into that. How can you people out there get into this house hacking, even if you own your own home or you're not at a stage? We're going to get into that, and that's the most important part of this whole seminar, because Tim and I bought multiple properties doing it this way. But let's just talk about Brandon and Tiffany here. When they started coming to our seminars about 3 years ago, it was actually 2 years ago, because I think it was last New Year's Eve that they took possession of their first one.
Maybe it was the year before.
Year before, geez. Okay, so it was 2 years ago. So we bought the property on the left corner at the bottom. It's on Bearberry in Bennington. They took possession New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, yeah, New Year's Eve. And if you watch our video on YouTube, he'll explain don't do that, because it's just not good timing. But anyway, it was a legal suite of property, came with a WestJet pilot who lived upstairs. I think she's still living in the property. These guys are cash flowing like crazy. When you talk about cash flow, I think they're cash flowing $2,600 a month, and you can see how young they are. Okay, so they put I don't know how much money they put down on the first one, but anyway, then we went on to buy the top one on the top right there. That's in Citadel, and this one we had to make legal. We had to turn it into a legal suited property, and they live upstairs, or they live upstairs, yeah. And they rent downstairs, and as you can see, it's a walkout. So once again, when it's a walkout like this is actually a bi-level walkout. So when you come in from the front, it looks like a bi-level, and it's appealing. It's got huge windows. There's actually a gas fireplace in the living room, and it's got easy access in and out. They say they don't even hear the tenants. And then the next one, which they take possession next month. Yep. So it's been 2 years, because they're doing it every year. They're buying their third property, which is bought in Canyon Meadows. This is a 1,200 square foot bungalow in Canyon Meadows that has a really nice suite already downstairs, a huge double car garage. It's walking distance to Canyon Meadows Sea Train Station. Is that what it's called?
Yes, both Canyon Meadows and Anderson.
They're in the middle of it, and it's really not far from anything like South Centre Mall, McLeod Trail. It's all there, and they're already on their way. Let's add this up. There's 400, 800, and another 450. So 1,250, and all those properties have gone up. The first two anyway. They got about $1.3 million worth of real estate, and they simply just did the move up hack that we recommended to them. And here is a young couple that is absolutely killing it. Not only that, they just joint ventured, because they followed our system. Yeah. They just joint ventured with another partner and have bought their fourth property, and the other partner qualified for the mortgage. So they're actually at another 200K. So they're at about $1.5 million worth of real estate. All of these properties will be, I already know 3 of them out of the 4 are legal suites. They have to legalize this Canyon Meadows one. And they will now be able to go buy their own home. They're sick of having tenants with them, but they've done it for 2 years. And then after this year, so it'll be 3 years they've sacrificed. They're getting married next year. After 3 years, they will go on and buy a home for themselves. We've already looked in Royal Oak for them, or Tuscany. It'll be more like a 2-story cookie cutter home that's newer for them to enjoy.
And then they can start their family there.
And they will have a share of, no, they will own $2 million worth of real estate, before they're 30 years of age. If you guys know anyone that wants to do this, they're incredibly successful. They grabbed our program and ran with it. And anybody can do this. It's up to you if you want to do it. So for all the people out there, Tim, did you want to say something about this?
Interesting story about the Canyon Meadows house. This is sort of an aside about staging your house to sell it and what properties look like when we walk in there. When we walked into that house, it was very, very neat on the upstairs, on the upper floor, because that's where the owner lived. And, it looked staged really nice. It was very neat, not a thing out of place. The tenant downstairs was another story. She had quite a few possessions, put it that way. But what we did find out is the guy basically moved out into the garage.
Yeah.
He had this whole setup in the garage where he would sit down there with his son. They were eating Cheerios and watching TV in the garage. They had a TV on the wall and a couch and a table. And so he had moved his life out to the garage just so his house would show better. So we run across all of these strange things, and it's kind of good that he did, because if he had as much stuff upstairs as the tenant had downstairs, we may not have gone after that house because we couldn't see through some of the stuff. So interesting aside about that, about what people do to sell their property.
And one thing about this Candy Meadows house, we've seen it hit the market. Tim and I went straight out there. It was about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We did a FaceTime video with Brandon, showed him on FaceTime, wait walkthrough, and we've never sold so many properties on FaceTime before in our lives. It's like, it's amazing. I mean, people know what we do, and they know we're very selective on rental properties. But anyway, that's how we're selling properties these days, is on FaceTime. And anyway, they looked at it, ran the numbers, and then Brandon the next day came and seen it. I think we negotiated that night before he even seen it, and wrote the offer, got the deal, and the next day he came in to see it and was thrilled that he got it. And they take possession on the 1st of next month. So very, very successful for them. Can you do this? Anybody could. If these kids are doing it, anybody could do it. It's just up to you if you want to do it. So house hacking can change lives for sure. We'll go to the next slide here because it will show you exactly why you should be attracting house hacking partners. Okay. And
it goes both ways. You don't always have to be the young person that's just starting out house hacking. There are strategies that if you have a lot of money, you've got a lot of properties, you can be the money partner on the house hacking.
Okay, so where are you going to find a house hacking partner? First of all, do you have kids? I mean, your kids are, I would be jumping on my kids for sure. I've got 3 kids, so I know I'm going to be jumping in with them and helping them out. I mean, I know my mom helped me out, so I'm definitely going to help my kids out, jump in, and if they can qualify once they start working, right? Yeah. They can qualify. If I have to chip in the deposit for them to for me to put 5% down and help them out get a rental property or house hack themselves, show them how to run a business, show them how to create wealth for themselves. For sure, that's the first place you would start is working with your children. Second place is at work. I mean, we all work with people. We have young guys in the office. Unfortunately for realtors, the young kids take a while to start making money. But if you're alongside someone at work, you might be working, I don't know, wherever you work, you might have young people and ask them, are you renting right now? And if they are, guess what you're going to tell them? You're going to tell them to jump on these free seminars to sort their lives out, because look what all these kids are doing. Like, honestly, we don't even have to sell this. Just tell them to go on our YouTube videos and see all these young kids that are killing it today. Like, I'm so proud of them when I see them do it to them. Like, it's like, this is awesome. It makes our job so enjoyable. But if you're sitting there and you're wondering, okay, I don't have kids and I don't have any friends at work, maybe you're on a softball team or a hockey team, I don't know. Maybe you have some neighbors, maybe you have some family. Maybe you should tell your family to do it with other family just to help them out. And I know in Australia, Tim, a lot of families there, because houses are so expensive, they do invest with their kids to get them started, or they co-sign with them. So instead of co-signing, why don't you jump in and be part of it as well? You know what I mean? I mean, it depends where you're at, but if you can, and if it's a business deal and you can make it win-win and move to the next property and move to the next property. I mean, those kids that you just seen have $2 million worth of real estate. And I could tell you on each one of those houses, over the next 3 to 5 years, they're all going up minimum $100,000. And how can I say that so confidently? It's because of what's going on in Calgary. As Tim said, prices haven't gone crazy, and we don't even need them to go crazy to get there. 8% this year, that's nothing. Like, Toronto's gone up, what, 20%?
20, 25.
25.
30, 40 in some neighborhoods.
At 8%, okay, we're roughly going up, I'd have to do the maths on a 400, you're roughly going up 32 grand a year, okay, and that is so realistic. You're going up 30 grand a year, times that by 3 years, there's your 100K. Right? And then you got to remember, 3 years later, you're paying down your mortgage, roughly, interest rates so low, close to 30K. So there's your 100K spread. It's not rocket science. You just have to get the fear. Order our book today. It's $20. and you read it and you'll understand what you should be doing or what your friends or what your joint venture partners will be doing. So Tim, we might as well get into a little story when I came to this country. Quickly, when I came to this country, I had no way to get any loans. I couldn't get financing.
Before you get started, when he first came to this country, he kept driving on the wrong side of the road. And I'm telling you, it was a white knuckle ride every time I got in his car. So
there is a true story. I think Tim was in the car and we're showing houses. I think it was down in Canyon Meadows and it was icy. And
he was on the wrong side of the road.
And I spun the X5 around and I didn't hit anything. But I was like, holy smokes, I got to take it easy here. But you know us realtors, when there's a good house, we're in the car, we're going.
Just drive on the right side of the road.
Or just let Tim drive. I'm better now. So when I came to this country, I had no way to basically get any financing. So I had to find partners. And if you've read the book, everyone knows I borrowed money off my mom, brought it here to Australia, brought it here to Canada. And I actually found people. And I could share a story. One girl, she's a flight attendant at Canada. Her name's, I won't say her name because I know this will be online. But anyway, she had a breakup and her and her partner were, they bought a house and she basically, they had to sell that and then she was on her own. And she wanted to go buy a house on her own, but couldn't afford it. So I actually joint ventured with her, gave her the deposit. She qualified for 5% down. I'll never forget, it was in Harvest Hills on Harvest Road Circle. You can Google it. Backing onto the new airport trail right now. Yeah. And anyway, long story short, she went in, moved into the house. She got a tenant in the basement and she got her good girlfriend, her good friend to move upstairs and pay $500 a month. So listen to this. So here's a girl that was kind of not in trouble, but she really, Tim, she would have really had to go rent somewhere. Yeah. She probably would have got a condo downtown for $1,000 a month at the time, but she came to us, knew what we were doing, and we're like, yeah, I'm in, okay, let's do it. So I put up the deposit. She got the loan. She moved into the property. She rented out the basement for $1,000, rented out upstairs for $500 a bedroom. And roughly, she would have been living for next to nothing, Tim.
Yeah.
So yeah. I didn't care. I owned half of an asset now. Now you might be asking about the rents. Here is the catch if you're going to joint venture with someone when you're doing house hacking, or when you're just joint venturing with someone that's moving into a property, which is house hacking anyway, right? So the key is that you want to do this because you only have to put 5% down. If you can negotiate 50% of the deposit, so they put up 10 and you put up 10, so be it. That's awesome. Even if you can't, the deal is still good, right?
Yeah.
And if they choose to rent out rooms or a basement, you can't really go after them and say, I want half of those rents. Okay, so she got a good deal off me for multiple years, Tim, like 10, 12 years, where she lived basically for free or next to nothing, paying down the mortgage. But this is the benefit for the joint venture partner, is that she was paying down the mortgage $700, $800 a month, but half of that was my equity. And
she also took care of all the maintenance because she was living there. So she didn't ask you for half the maintenance.
Yeah, so that's right. So if little things went up or a dishwasher went, that's her expense. I remember when we went to sell, Tim, there was a window problem. She had to fix that because she lived there for 10 years, and that was her expense. So if things came up like that, in my agreements, if the furnace went, if the roof went, that was basically it, or the hot water tank. That was and none of those things ever happened on all those houses I owned. None of those things really ever happened. But once again, you can't basically charge them for renting out a basement and renting out a room. But what did I get out of it? I got 50% of the equity. The property probably over that time went up over $150,000. And it got paid down over 10, 12 years. It probably got paid down at least, Tim, 60K.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so there was about, maybe $150,000, $160,000 where I did absolutely nothing. And this is the best thing about house hacking, having a partner that house hacks, is that you don't do anything. there's no rent coming in, no rent going out. Your partner is responsible for paying the mortgage, paying the maintenance, paying the insurance. They're responsible for everything. So,
And one other thing is also the JV is structured so that when they eventually did get to sell, it's first money in, first money out. So that deposit amount that Azad put down to begin with, that goes to him first, and then the profits are split. So your original deposit amount is always secured when you go to sell the property.
Yeah, so I have to stress that yes, I didn't make money on my 20 grand in my pocket, but at the end of the day, I got my 20 grand back, and then I got a whole lot more just for helping someone out. And that was a true win-win. I helped her out where she could have been renting and would have taken her some time to get into the real estate market. Instead, I got her into that, and she owned her own house. No one needed to know that that I was her partner. I never went to her house. We were kind of friends as well, so I never really told anybody that ever that I owned half her house. I just didn't feel the need to. I always said it was her house, and we had our arrangement, and that was it. So that is one way you could definitely do it. Tim, is there any other?
Well, just back to house hacking with a partner, we'll go over it again. You know, look, go find out, you know, who in your family can do it. Find out who at work can do it, who your hobbies, whatever you're doing, whatever clubs you're in. You know, are there young people there? Or if you're a young person and you're looking for someone with a deposit, can you approach your parents? Can you approach people at work who are, you know, other people who are investing in real estate? You just want to get started, but you don't have that down payment. You have the qualifying ability, but you don't have the down payment. Approach those other real estate investors. They may be able to come up with the cash and partner with you. So you house hack on your first one, but you're house hacking with someone that's done it already, right? So finding those partners, we go through a whole JV seminar, how to attract the partners, you know, how to get the money, how to secure it, the right contracts and all that at a later date. But, you know, as just an overview, there's many people in everybody's lives that can help them out.
Yeah, and you might be on the call right now and you don't have a deposit, but you can get financing and you can use the move up program. It's very easy for you to find cash partners that would want to do this. And if you are on the call tonight, send us an email. We'll show you exactly how to do it, because you could be buying a property sooner than you think.
Yeah.
So initially I was always attracting, and even right now, always attracting partners that are qualifying for 5% down. You can help first-time home buyers, right? Now there is a ruling on when you go to get a mortgage, and if you are joint venturing with them, the deposit at most of the time, if they don't have it, it has to be in a bank account for 90 days. So we have to stress that. And typically what you would do with that partner is you would set up a joint bank account at your local bank, and you would have signing authority. They wouldn't, which means the money would go into the account and both of you would be on the account, but that person can't withdraw any money. So the money just sits there. Its sole purpose is to basically be there for the deposit. And when you typically buy real estate, and this is where it gets a bit nerve-wracking. No one ever talks about, Tim, when you do a joint venture, that nerve-wracking time in between when you put the deposit down on a house to when you close on a property, because you're really unsecured there. So just briefly talking about this, as Tim said, we do a whole joint venture presentation on this, but there is a period where when you buy a house, typical deposit on a $300,000 house is roughly $5,000, and on a $400,000 house, it could still be 5 or it could be 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's coming out of that account. And when you have a joint venture, normally the joint venture agreement is registered on the title of the property you're buying, but that can't happen until you close on the property. So there is a period there where it's up in the air, but our investors, we get them to sign a joint venture agreement. So at least we have that in place. And then once they buy the property, before closing, we have to come up with the rest of the deposit to put down on the property, which will make up the 5% down, which generally is between 20 and 25,000 on a 400, 450 home. And then the joint venture gets registered. And as Tim said, first money in is first money out, and it's win-win all day long. And the responsibilities on that is all on the person that's living there. And then when they move out of the property, so this is key, when you're buying the property, you have to make sure that the numbers work when the person moves out of the house, that it cash flows and everybody's happy. And that's when you start splitting.
Yeah, so if your intention is to eventually turn it into a rental property and you're both going to get the cash flow from that, the numbers have to work, you know, theoretically when the person is moving out. So we need to research the rents and make sure that those rents up and down, or just for the single family home, are going to cover the costs that you're going to get into the property for.
Yeah, and I'll just tell one quick story. And we didn't mention Andy in our book at all, did we? I don't think. Anyway, I worked with a young chef named Andy. Those who've been on our webinars for years know I used to be a chef. And so I basically would be at work and talking about real estate all the time. Like, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I got to get into this. How am I going to do this? And I was just so passionate about it, right? And I remember Andy, he's like, oh, Az, he used to call me Az. He'd be like, Az, yeah, I want to own houses too. And I'm like, well, talk to your mortgage broker. He talked to the mortgage broker, and guess what? He can qualify for a mortgage. So I'm like, Andy, no problem. We'll go buy a place. And we bought the most terrible half duplex there is on the busiest street in Calgary. It was on 14th Street. It's still standing. I can't believe it. Anyway, and this is where I have to laugh when people get all caught up in prices and I mean, look, it's location. Don't get us wrong. We buy the best properties for our clients because we probably bought the worst. So we know. But I did buy the worst this time, and this probably still made me $100,000. So I can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we bought it for 160, and back then, and we put 5% down, so it's very, very little to put down. Andy moved upstairs, rented downstairs. He moved out. We bought him another place out in the northeast of Marbeck Drive, and we rented both properties out. Both upstairs and downstairs. It was cash flowing like crazy, and then we sold it for $360,000. So he made 100K, I made 100K, and it was win-win for everybody. So here's a guy that didn't know about real estate investing. I showed him what I knew. We did a joint venture together. We actually split the deposit together going into this. He moved into it. At that time, I wasn't making any cash flow off it because he had a roommate or he had someone in the basement. And then when he moved out, it worked out. We held on to it till the market went up. And I remember in 2008 or something like that, we had a boom. And when the boom happens, that's when you want to offload your properties that aren't so nice, right?
Yeah, it gives you the opportunity to, if your portfolio has a few properties that are really, really good and some that have sort of, you know, gone down a bit in quality, you don't really want to put the renovation money back into them. When the market's hot, that's the time to unload those kind of properties. And we had actually quite a few people do that, you know, in the first 3 months of this year when the market just went crazy, because, you know, people were selling all kinds of properties and people were buying properties they shouldn't have been buying because, you know, they had so many issues in them. But because there was a buzz about the market and it was, you know, it was in the news all the time, and it was also in the middle of COVID, it was a good time to sell subpar properties if you had them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's it for our house hacking presentation. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to quickly go over some of the things, the resources that you can get to help your real estate investment career.
Yeah, so if you're new to us, please download a free ebook. Thanks for joining us. There's a free gift on our website. It is really a gift because we wrote it, and it's a great little intro into investing in real estate. It shows you exactly the returns that we get here in Calgary. If you're calling from another city, you can just work out what the average appreciation is in your city, and then you can work out where real estate's going to take you. And for example, Brandon and Tiffany that were on, that we showcased tonight, like 4 properties, when they met us, they kind of wanted to know, where's Calgary heading? Where do we see it trending towards? What are property prices going to be? That's why they've gone on to buy 4 properties, and this book will help you understand that as well. The next book, which we've showcased here, Fearless Real Estate, we're so proud. It is $20. We love it because it's all about our clients. It's a little bit about us, but it's mainly all about our clients, and it goes through the good and bad of investing in real estate, and it really gives you the meat and potatoes that you need to understand to move forward.
Yeah, and like as I've said, it's about our clients. It goes through their stories. They're regular people. You know, they're no different than me or you. They're just regular people that wanted to get ahead, and they use real estate to do it. And we tell their stories and they do all kinds of different strategies. And, you know, it's very, very interesting that not everybody's doing the same thing to get ahead using real estate.
Yeah, and all these people, like they're all, as we said tonight, Brittany is one of them. She was a gym instructor, right?
Yeah.
So there's single mothers, there are doctors and pilots, of course there are, but there's just everyday people that are just killing it right now, which is awesome. And the next thing is all about our course here. Now, we're not here to push it on anyone, but we're definitely going to tell you about it. It is designed to do one thing, and that's to make you $1 million. And you might be sitting there, how are you guys going to do that? Well, we actually have a plan for each and every one of our clients. We show them exactly what they have to do to move forward. And we actually give them the strategy. That's what people really need, right, Tim? The right strategy. So many people follow the wrong strategy, or they wait too long, or they don't take action. We help you actually pull all of this off.
Yeah, we figure out what strategy is good for you. We've mentioned this before, but we've had young couples come in that just want to do, you know, fix and flip, fix and flip, fix and flip. But, you know, they've got young kids at home that aren't even in school yet. They both have full-time jobs. There's no way that type of person is going to be able to do, you know, a flip after a flip after a flip. They have to look after their family. So their strategy would be different than, you know, an older couple that's their kids are out of the house. They can do it. They can move into a house, renovate it, and move on. So we, you know, narrow down on the right strategy for each client. And like Azad said, at the end of it, you know, you're going to be $1 million richer.
Yeah, it's not a get rich quick program or anything like that. And we have, Tim, we started off selling it at $1,000 for, it's actually a lifetime membership. And we did have people asking there be a monthly fee, you know, to belong to this. And we did drop it to $100. Well, it's two. It's either $1,000 for a lifetime membership or $100 a month. And people are obviously doing that. We've got over 130 members right now, and it's doing very, very well. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, just reach out to us. The best thing about what you guys can do if you're thinking about doing something like this or reading one of our books or even using us as your realtors, the best thing you should do is go on our Crew TV. It's our YouTube channel. We never wanted to do this, but I think we hit 15,000 views in total just in the last month here. It's very, very exciting. The best thing about it, you can see what our clients are actually doing, and you can see if it's for you, and you can learn more about Tim and myself. We've got to get Tim more in the camera, but it's really cool.
Yeah, the main point of it is we're showing you what our clients are doing every day in today's market. You know, they're all doing different things. They're all at different stages in their lives. They all have different amounts of money, different jobs. But the consistent thing is they all have a passion for real estate, and that's what we want to see and we want to showcase. We want to showcase their passion for real estate and hopefully inspire you to go out there and start a real estate investing career as well.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, fire them in the chat there. We're happy to answer anything. If you think investing in real estate, this is what our seminars used to look like. We can't wait to get back to that. Actually, when it does come back, we'll do in person and online at the same time, because we've had so much good feedback from people working around the country that can join in as well. But we did love the in-person seminars because people would have questions, and yeah, so there's our contact details. Please reach out if you need to get hold of us. We'd be happy to meet on Zoom. We can't meet in person right now, can we? We can at a coffee shop or something like that.
Well, we can't meet at our office anymore because of the new restrictions, but hopefully we get through that pretty quick and get back to meeting people in person. And, you know, if you are interested in investing in real estate, just reach out. We'll set up a meeting and we'll see where you want to go and how you get there.
Yeah, I like this comment from Mark Chalk. He said he had a light bulb moment. And that's why we do these seminars. Maybe we say something that just tweaks what you're thinking, or you're wondering how to do it, or you need to take action. We're here to help. We look forward to meeting some of you guys.
Yeah, so that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.